All right, let's dive into something unexpected today. We're going deep into the music of, well, Bob Marley.
Oh, yeah, everyone knows Bob Marley, right?
Exactly. But we're not focusing on the reggae vibes everyone knows and loves. This is going to be a deep dive into how the Bible itself is woven into his lyrics.
That's right. You might think of Rastafarianism when you think about Marley, but this deep dive, well, you're going to see how much his message is shaped by a direct knowledge of the Bible.
We're really lucky someone did the work here. It's all thanks to the research done in Dean MacNeal's book, The Bible and Bob Marley. Half the story has never been told. I mean, it's
What?
wild, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're not talking vague spiritual vibes here. MacNeal actually created a database
Wow.
of every single biblical quote and allusion in Marley's lyrics.
Now, that is some dedicated research. And you know what's fascinating?
What's that?
Marley's most quoted books aren't what you might expect,
Yeah.
given the Rastafarian focus on Exodus and Revelation.
Yeah, I would have thought those would be at the top of the list.
You'd think so, right?
Definitely. So which books are the most prominent?
Believe it or not, it's the Songs and Proverbs. Those books form the core of Marley's biblical language.
Really? The Songs and Proverbs. I mean, yeah, I know those books, but I wouldn't have connected them with Marley's music off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So help me out here. What's the significance of those specific books, both for Marley and just in a broader religious context?
Well, let's start with the Psalms. They're all about expressing raw emotion to God. Laments, praises, you name it. It's very personal, poetic. Proverbs, on the other hand, they're different. They're like these short, pithy sayings about wisdom, justice, navigating the world.
So it's less about fire and brimstone and more about just how to live a good, meaningful life.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that both Jewish and Rastafarian traditions, they place a high value on these books. They see them as sources of practical wisdom, understanding God through observing creation, and less about strict doctrines or salvation history.
So when we hear Marley singing, we're actually hearing echoes of these ancient wisdom traditions, filtered through his own experiences, the struggles he saw around him.
Precisely. And MacNeal points out how Marley uses this wisdom literature as a powerful form of resistance.
Resistance. How does a proverb become a protest song?
Okay, think of the song Small Axe.
Oh, yeah. Powerful anthem.
Right. But MacNeal shows how it's actually built on Psalm 52,
Hmm.
which condemns the exploitation of the poor and vulnerable.
I see. So Marley's using this ancient text to take aim at, like, the music industry bigwigs who were taking advantage of artists like him.
Yes.
Like, even the smallest voice can chop down the biggest tree of injustice.
And he doesn't stop there. He also uses Proverbs to call out those who boast falsely and live corruptly. MacNeal argues that Marley cleverly links this to systemic issues of poverty and oppression in Jamaica.
Wow, so these seemingly simple proverbs pack a serious punch. It makes me think about how wisdom literature has always been a tool for the marginalized to challenge those in power. Subtle, but so effective.
It definitely makes you listen to those lyrics in a whole new light.
Yeah.
Marley isn't just rhyming. He's drawing on centuries of tradition to make his point.
Speaking of Marley's skill with, weaving those biblical threads into his music,
Yeah.
there's another layer to this that I found really surprising. MacNeal's research, shows that it's not just the Old Testament that Marley draws on.
Right, it goes deeper.
Yeah.
He actually shows a deep understanding of Paul's letters,
Yeah.
in the New Testament, particularly in albums released around the time it was shot.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. It's almost like going through that experience brought those themes, to the forefront of his music.
Yeah.
MacNeal points out the Exodus album
Right.
as a prime example, which makes sense given its theme of escaping oppression.
And within that album, there's a song, Rat Race,
Yeah.
that really jumps out in terms of its Pauline connection. There's a line, it directly quotes 1 Thessalonians 5:3.
Mm.
A passage about sudden destruction coming after calls for peace and security.
Wait, hold on. So we've got a reggae anthem about, breaking free from the system,
Yeah.
quoting a passage about the end times. How does that even work?
Well, you have to look at the context
Yeah.
of that passage. In Paul's time, it was likely a critique of the Roman Empire. You see, they boasted about bringing peace and security,
Oh, I see.
but underneath that was a system of oppression and control.
So Marley's taking that same idea and, applying it to the powers that be in his own time. He's saying, don't be fooled by the talk of peace and progress, because there's a deeper reality going on.
Exactly. And this becomes even more potent when you consider the political climate of post-colonial Jamaica, where the struggle for true freedom was far from over.
Yeah. I'm starting to see how Marley could blend these biblical ideas with his own lived experiences. He's taking these ancient texts and making them speak to the very real struggles of his people.
It's a testament to the power of Scripture, how it transcends time and place. These words written centuries ago were still relevant to the challenges facing Jamaica in the 20th century.
But Marley's message, I mean, it isn't just about fighting back, right? It's not all fire and brimstone.
Oh, no, you're right.
There's also the strong element of hope and unity and finding redemption.
You're absolutely right. He doesn't just quote the passages about judgment and wrath. He also draws on the parts of the Bible that speak to love, forgiveness, and spiritual strength. Right.
The song, So Much Things to Say,
yes,
is a perfect example of that. It's got this blend of prophetic warnings from Isaiah, but it also pulls in quotes from Ephesians, talking about putting on the armor of God for spiritual warfare.
And it's that combination, that makes it so powerful.
Yeah.
He acknowledges the reality of struggle, the need to stand up against injustice, but he also recognizes that true redemption comes from a deeper source. It's not just about winning the fight. It's about transforming ourselves and the world around us.
It's a more complex picture than just us versus them, isn't it? He's talking about a spiritual battle, but also about the need for love and unity.
It makes you wonder how we can hold those two things together, right? The fight for justice and the pursuit of peace and love. It's a tension that runs throughout Marley's music and honestly throughout the Bible itself.
It's amazing to think about just how much depth there is to Marley's music. I mean, you can enjoy it on the surface level.
Sure.
But when you start to understand those biblical influences, it adds a whole new dimension.
It's like he's giving us this key to unlock those deeper layers of meaning. And it makes you realize that, he wasn't just a talented musician. He was a deep thinker who was engaging with these profound spiritual and philosophical ideas.
And what's really striking to me is how he managed to weave those ideas into music that's so, I don't know, catchy, accessible. Like you don't need a degree in theology to appreciate One Love. But when you understand those biblical roots of that message, it takes on even greater significance.
It is a reminder that the Bible isn't just some dusty old book on the shelf. It's a living text that can speak to us across the centuries. And Marley took those ancient stories and made them relevant to the struggles of his own time. And in a way to the challenges that we face today as well.
So much of what he's saying about the poverty, oppression, political corruption. These are still issues we're grappling with.
All the time.
And his message of resistance and redemption, of fighting for what's right, but also seeking unity and love, well, that feels more relevant than ever.
It's a testament to the power of art to connect us to something larger than ourselves. And it's a challenge to us as listeners to not just passively consume music, but to really think about the messages behind those melodies.
Makes me wonder how many other artists are out there drawing on these same sources of inspiration.
Oh.
And how we as listeners can become, I don't know, more attuned to those deeper layers of meaning.
That's the beauty of a deep dive like this, I think.
Yeah.
It opens up these new ways of seeing and hearing the world around us. And we start to recognize the echoes of the past and the present. And we realize that we're all part of this ongoing conversation about how to live meaningful and purposeful lives.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dives into Bob Marley's biblical influences. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for his music.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring how he blended those ancient texts with his own experiences to create such a powerful and enduring message.
And we hope this has inspired you to listen to Marley's music with fresh ears.
Absolutely.
To hear those echoes of the Bible in his lyrics and to ponder how his message of resistance and redemption might speak to your own life.
Right.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.